A follow-up to the AI and the Easter Sky episode. Wow, I have a lot of conflicting lights. This will probably... That's way too dark. Oh well. So I had a dream last night. It was interesting. It scared me a little bit. It seemed like maybe bad things were going to happen for my dad, so I was praying about that, praying to increase my ability to discern what dreams meant. And I've also been asking God, do dreams matter at all? I've been recording them. I think I have like 4,000 recorded on my phone. And it was kind of depressing. Like, what's the point of this? There has to be something interesting in our dreams. Meanwhile, as I've been saying, my friend, what he was pushing on me kind of hounded me. And this happens the same way one of the girls I work with named Regina, she says, wouldn't it be better if you were kinder? And I said, no, I work with the people going through hell, trapped in the desert where there's no food and water, and you need to be mindful of your supplies and ration out what you have sometimes and not make waste. And then I help people get out of the wilderness and get back home where there's abundance. And that's what happens when different people have different gifts. They expect me to act one way, but I act according to my gift set. Rebecca will say the same things, like, shouldn't you be less of a jerk? And I said, no, sometimes people need you to be a jerk. So what one of my friends did is he said, you need to produce results. You need to produce results. You need to start with one grain of wood and work it. And that is true if you're a prophet. A prophet is all about going to the destination. Like, we'll get there if we just go forward. While I do have the gift of prophecy, I am not a prophet. Now, I might be Old Testament prophet like Moses, where I'll like tell you what God says, maybe. And I have enough mastery of the ministry that I can kind of like step into the mindset, but I am not a prophet type. In my nature, I am an apostle type, a teacher type, and a king type. I am all about building the foundation, but I need to know, is it for a castle? Is it for a basketball court? Is it for a rocket ship launching pad? You need to know this in its entirety, and you need to know all the pieces, and you build it all at once. If you've ever seen people pour concrete, they get kind of the mold and everything set up, and the pouring of the concrete is last. And then because I'm part teacher, I need to understand the process so I can educate and replicate it with others, and I can put that knowledge squarely into the hands of others so they can replicate it and disseminate it themselves. And then the king in me wants to do it correctly so it's reinforced in civilization. And so what happened today is, so with the last episode, I was able to argue with the AI and argue into the corners and against the walls of my own training, knowledge, and spiritual martial art competency and form. And so I was thinking a lot about what could move me forward, and the answer I landed on was prophecy. Prophecy will lead me forward and teach me the way, because prophecy is what moves the church. And Paul says that, ask for the 9, honestly pursue the 9 gifts of the Holy Spirit, especially prophecy. Because prophecy really reinforces and stabilizes the church. So I thought, prophecy is kind of one I've been shying away from, because at first I wanted to make sure I had as much mastery of the core knowledge as possible. Like Goku, you want to increase your base strength as much as possible, because when you go Super Saiyan, it magnifies your base strength. So I wanted to make sure my competency and elegance and spiritual dexterity was as great as it could be before moving forward. And I felt like I was finally hitting that, especially with my friend kind of nagging at me. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm trying to be specific. And I don't berate him for this, but he is prophet type, and maybe there is some propheticness in there. But as he told me once when I was a kid, which kind of pinged on my prophetic sense, the man who had the block of marble that was highly defective had to stare at it until he understood he could carve out a statue of King David from the Bible, and then he did. So I'm very much the same way. My friend didn't realize it. I also have to be careful, because if I step out of line, people get hurt. Just like King David, when he disobeyed God, there was a great discipline in the nation and many people died. So I have to be very careful, because as long as I'm obedient to God, it helps our nation prosper. And when I become disobedient, there's kind of this ceiling collapse that is bad and detrimental to our nation. Okay. So anyways, I started praying with the intent to get prophecies today, and I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And the dream I had last night started to come true. There were some things about future wife that was just basically like, I need to keep getting in shape, and I have been. I've been going to the gym for like 90 minutes at least 4 days a week. I want to do 5, but I've been pretty good about 4, and then I've cut most of my bad eating habits, probably like between 90 to 75%. It was Easter, so I kind of let go a little bit, like celebrate the holidays. And then I went to see the Mario movie, so I had soda. I had an icy and some popcorn. Watched it in IMAX. Mario movie's amazing. Project Hail Mary, amazing. Loved both of them. Anyways, so these dreams started coming true. And in the dream, I saw a guy that looked like myself, that had a lot of personality, but kind of had dark social characteristics. And he was like dark, right? Kind of like shadowy, but not shadowy. Like a black hole, but not a black hole. He just needed more light to expose who he was, like to show who he was within the scene. And to make a long story short, and I wish I could give you more of the details, but I'm exceptionally tired. I think I've been up for almost 24 hours. But I kind of felt my personality saying like, no, like get this online. Because it worked. I started getting a bunch of prophecies. And then I was like, give me more, because I want to know how to get married. I want to know what needs to take place. I want to know how to like get to where I need to go. And this video came up on YouTube, and this person was at an all-you-can-eat buffet, and he grabbed a bunch of lobster. And instead of eating lobster in front of him, he grabbed it looked like 20 or 30 lobsters. And the person said, eat what's in... No, the guy in charge seemed to be saying, eat what's in front of you, and then you can go get more. And then the guy who was showing the video, so the guy was like commenting on it, said, remember, there are people who are hungry and have nothing. And he showed these like kids in Africa, and they were given a piece of bread, and one was crying, and then he was about to be given a piece of bread. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to definitely go through the process, because I need to do my due diligence and like give it to you guys. And through that process, the plan came together. I'm going to talk to you guys about what I'm doing, share what I'm doing, then finish making what I'm doing, to publish what I'm doing, to make money on what I'm doing, to do what I'm doing on a bigger scale, because I'll have money for a bigger launching platform. So let's read the prophecies I got, which were just very, very cool. So these are all from today. I wrote, I don't know if I'm going to give you everything. So in this one, I realized that girls have become like car engines. Since we're having sex without marriage, we've redefined dating culture, not as it's meant to be biblically. And this isn't me telling you what to do, but rather interact with God about it and see that he doesn't reinforce what I'm saying. I think I need to go to bed. I'm shutting down. Yeah. But anyways, so tonight I'll do more. But okay, so suffice, let's do the like a summary. So I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and I've learned from different prophets that you don't just repeat yourself. You want to have the conversation, but continue to pray, because I was telling Rebecca, it's like bubbles. It was like bubbles in a bigger bubble. Eventually, you fill it up, the bigger bubble pops, and then all your prayers come true. So you can't quit even though you want to, because Rebecca was having a bad day. She kept feeling like we weren't moving, and I get it. But prophecy is supernatural, divine information, and like a refined target that you can move towards. And so in my heart's kind of mind's eye, I saw it as the one-dimensional nature of religion, or rather better say what I'm doing here is the scripture, right? We write, like Paul wrote his letters, right? And that became books of the Bible. And then the three-dimensional version of that became kind of what I am, like a Rubik's Cube. And we want to further move towards interesting things, but I want to be exponential, not linear. I want to move up rapidly, not just a little bit at a time. Okay. And so the prophecy is the point that makes this exponential and more. It makes it launch, because prophecy has so much energy, it becomes motion, and then it moves. Okay, so I got a bunch of prophecies, and now it doesn't seem like I have the mind block anymore. It seems like I am where I ought to be. So this is kind of the prequel, and then when I wake up after sleeping, we're going to try it for real and see if it doesn't persist once I've slept. Because if it does persist, I need to go back to the drawing board. But prophecy is a good answer. I like this answer. I hope this answer stays true. And then, if any of you are curious about Future Wife, because we need to prove I am or I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fraud, but we need to play it out to its completion. It seems like she wants me more in shape, and I get that. Like, right, we all have our, like, she's gonna have her little girl dreams. I'm gonna have my little boy dreams. I want to marry someone attractive who's awesome, and she wants to marry someone who's supernatural and, exotic. So luckily, I've been losing weight very quickly, and I've been gaining muscle very quickly. So we will go from there. But I love you guys. We're going to see how this goes tonight.